Hi, Roslyn. How are you feeling? This evening, we have been experiencing a bout of the flu, but we are back on track.
Yep, we're back on track. You're in St. Martin and I'm in Grenada, and we both got sick around the same time, but we're forging through. And really delighted to have this podcast. Brenda and I are authors of a book coming out in this year, 2025, called The Dark Side of Leadership, Shining the Light. And our podcast entitled Shining the Light is designed for persons who are in leadership positions, and especially those who are going to be entering into a leadership role, to let you know about the different aspects of it and how to prepare yourself.
So we're going to do some excerpts from our book and have a little discussion about the frame of our thoughts while putting this book together. Leadership is such a wonderful opportunity, but believe it or not, there is a dark side. And oftentimes we don't even know that there's a dark side. So we go through different leadership journeys, and sometimes they leave a bittersweet taste in our mouth. Sometimes we don't feel we're as successful as we should have been. And sometimes we just plain quit. We just don't continue with the process because it is too difficult. And so while brainstorming about ideas to address during our writing of this book, we thought about really looking at the hidden aspects that can blindside leaders and catch them off guard, and we hope to prevent setbacks, failures, missed opportunities for success by pointing these things out so that the leader is then empowered to continue on his or her journey, and they can maneuver, sidestep, step around those pitfalls that can break a leader.
One of the thoughts that came to mind was clashing with a fellow leader. And that could stem from maybe your roles are somewhat close together, not necessarily one contingent on another, but they just rub close. I think another aspect is concern about autonomy, wanting to have a sense of agency over what you're responsible for, and not wanting another person to feeling the other person is encroaching when really that isn't happening. And it
Well,
could lead to failures because the other team members under each leader can sense the tension, like
the
putting one
tug and
team
pull,
against
yeah,
another, that which
again and
which
again.
creates unnecessary toxicity in the place,
Yeah.
and it's
Or
just
some
a missed opportunity for success.
or some leaders view each other as competition. And when you're working in the same sphere or at achieving the same goal, sometimes you need to look at it as a collaboration for the end goal. And so if we are competing, then we want to perhaps outdo. And we're thinking about outdoing, then you start to think of ways to undermine the other person or to sabotage the other person. And sometimes that creates a very unhealthy atmosphere. And
Mhm.
so leaders should be aware and be able to make sure that they're not the ones letting off that aura. They're not the ones who are using that behavior, and to be able to recognize that each member of your team has a specific task and a specific strength. And if you utilize the strengths and you work a little bit on building where they need a little help, then usually you can meet your goals.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. Let's take a look at the second excerpt that we have. Sometimes individuals who are supposed to assist you thwart your efforts. And some of the reasons we pulled out would be jealousy, hidden agendas, self-failure, desire to maintain their legacy and their records and not wanting someone else to achieve what they did not.
And sometimes if you recognize the reason someone is behaving that way, then you don't let it affect your journey or your trajectory on where you want to go. Because, for instance, if you know it stems from maybe jealousy, then you don't um, do things that would antagonize that person in saying, okay, here I am, and flaunting your achievements, maybe because you know the person feels a little way like that. You include them in the process and you thank them for their part, and to minimize the feeling of maybe jealousy. And so those are all the things that the leader needs to be able to recognize on in the journey to be able to do something about it.
Sometimes we bring into the office and on our jobs the way that we run our homes. You're used to being fully involved in every aspect of how you run your space. And I think sometimes we have to learn how to code switch when we get into the office, meaning that we have a specific responsibility to do as an employee. And we have, let's say we're given all the tools, all the resources that we need to do our job. And this is one of the things. Sometimes a leader just needs you to just do your job and not overkill on the number of suggestions or the opinions, or this is how we could do things better. Like your boss gets a salary to do what they need to do, and you get a salary to do what you need to. This is a lesson that I learned perhaps too late in life, but it really does help to kind of put things into perspective where if a suggestion is asked for and it's an open dialogue, but it gets really exhausting as a leader when you're trying to do your work, to implement certain things, and there's just this person coming like termites, criticizing everything, throwing a monkey wrench in
Questions,
everything. Just why are we doing this? And this is not how we usually do it.
Yes.
Just that's
Just
really
relax.
exhausting. Just relax and give the person a chance to actually do their job. They get a salary, you get a salary, you know. And again, this is a lesson that I learned a little bit later in life, but it really is true when you're on the other side. So we're not saying that you cannot give a suggestion or a perspective, but it gets really exhausting for the leader when they're really honestly just trying to do their job based on the job description that they've received, based on mandates from upper management or from the organization, whichever context that it is. And then you have all these hidden agendas, and you have all this jealousy, and you have all this kind of wanting other people to not succeed.
Yes.
It could really be very discouraging.
And I look at it's human nature. And so to be able to be successful in your role as a leader, you have to chalk it up just like that. That's human nature. Persons don't feel the way you feel about yourself. And so be mindful of carrying out your vision, because as a leader, your vision is what drives the team to achieve a certain goal. And so if there's others with things that might take you off track or derail you, you need to kind of keep the team on the same road towards the vision, because you get so caught up in the back and forth and the trying to explain and the trying to motivate, or motivate isn't a word, but trying to out fires, because as leaders, sometimes there are all these little fires to out, all of these other little things that sometimes are just not necessary. You just have to step back and say, listen, not today, not now. There's a time and place for that. We can have another session to address this, but I would like this to be achieved by then. Some of the things that you sometimes deal with is persons just blatantly refusing to do what is required of them or what is
Mhm.
asked for them. And then you, as a leader, you need to then go to the drawing board and see how you can fix that problem. Because you can't just let one team member not do his or her task because it demotivates the rest of the team. It sometimes shows that that person has maybe more strength than you as a leader because they're not following your directives or they're not doing anything that the others are doing. And then you
Mhm.
see the rest of the team starting to say, why am I giving 100%? Okay, I'm going to start at 80% tomorrow. And then you will see the derailing of your team spirit. You need to be consistent in how you treat the persons that are on the team. You need to be consistent in how you address their behavior, how you give them rewards, because sometimes we focus on the negative aspects all the time or the negative things that a person is doing. But another dark side is that we don't recognize when someone has done something good and you don't give credit where credit is due.
Great
And so
point.
you leave that person with a feeling of, okay, I was not appreciated. And we have to be careful in not giving persons credit for their role in the process because a lot of times as a leader you're the face of the organization, you're the person that they see. So sometimes what happens is that you would then of course be the one to get the accolades, you will be the one to get the praise, and you need to refer back to your team and said, you know, I couldn't do this alone, and each team member did this. If somebody did something extraordinary, you point it out. And I think because then you respect the work that the person put in. And in turn, you get respect from the person for your recognition of the hard work.
In the future, we would be interviewing some really amazing people, and that's coming up really soon. So, Brenda, any closing words?
Thank you once again for allowing us a little time to explain that leadership is such a unique opportunity to change lives, to achieve goals, to show someone something different. And so we hope that you can join us on our next podcast. We, as Roslyn said, we have some exciting guests that would look at leadership from different angles to make sure that when you get this toolkit, that you're well prepared to handle the leadership role.
Absolutely. Bye for now.
Bye.